Running a fast 10K is something every runner should attempt. So today, I'm gonna give you some advice and tips on how to take your running to the next level and break 40 minutes for 10K. Right, we're gonna start with where you are currently. Now we're gonna assume that because you're watching this video, that running a sub 40 minute 10K is a realistic goal. But what is a realistic goal? Is it knocking 10 minutes off your current 10K PB, or is it more geared towards someone that has already run a 40 minutes and 30 seconds for 10K? Well, the answer is yes. And yes, if you're just looking to shave the last few seconds off to get that sub 40 10K, well, yes, this video is for you. But if you have run something like 45 minutes plus and not ever really followed a training plan before, well, you probably could also knock that sort of time off and run a sub 40 minute 10K. But if you have already followed a pretty good plan before and you're in that sort of time frame, then it might be a little bit optimistic. We're probably looking at more 1 to 2 minutes off your PB at a time. However, some of the tips in this video will still help you, so stay tuned. But before we get to those, if you enjoy our videos over here at GTN, then make sure you're subscribed so that you get all our future ones. Hit that subscribe button below now. Okay, first off, we're actually going to assess where you're currently at and what you've been doing to this point. Now, I know what you're thinking, wow, I could probably do a 10K tomorrow, that's no problem. That's fine, but if you haven't been running consistently, well, that is a recipe for disaster. So we need to figure out where your starting point is at. So for this, what we're gonna do is take your last 3 weeks of running and we're gonna add that all together, whether that's time or distance. I'm gonna use time as an example here. Add that together, divide that by 3, and then we're gonna add 10%. So as an example, if your last 3 weeks of running adds up to 6 hours in total, that's gonna be a starting point of 2 hours and 12 minutes for the first week, give or take very slightly, okay? And then we're gonna build up from there. And I know because you're starting out on this new training plan, your motivation's gonna be high. Just make sure you're patient with this to avoid injury and make sure you give your body time to adapt. That means that the second week of training, using a 10% rule on that to make sure that we're never overloading the body too much, is a step up to 2 hours and 25. And then keep using that 10%, so on and so forth. Don't just jump in at 4 hours for your first training week just because the training plan suggests you do so. Similarly, if you've only been doing easy runs up till now, or you have been for a significant amount of time more latterly, then don't suddenly jump in on lots of fast running again just because a training plan says to do so. Build into fast running gradually too. And now it's time to pick your goal race. And I'm not talking in a week's time or in 4 weeks' time. And I know what you're thinking, well, it's still ages away. I could probably fit 20 plus sessions in that time. It's not enough time for your body to absorb the hard training that you're going to put it through and adapt from that. Instead, we're talking more like 12 to 16 weeks time. Any less than that, and actually you run the risk of rushing your preparation or perhaps even picking up an injury. Equally though, set a goal too far into the future and there's the risk of your training being derailed by just life and things getting in the way, or that goal being so far into the future that you just lose focus on it. Instead, try and keep it in that 12 to 16 week window. So now that you have your goal race and your starting point, we can now sort of start to map out a bit of a timeline to get you there. So we have that starting point for your weekly volume in terms of hours or distance, and then we're going to add 10% to that week on week until 3 weeks before the event, or I guess more importantly, up to the maximum that you can fit into your busy life, because at the end of the day, there's no point setting an unrealistic target. Also worth pointing out that every 3 to 4 weeks, you might want to include a slightly lighter week in terms of volume, just to allow your body time to absorb that training, adapt and recover, because at the end of the day, consistency is key. And if there's only one thing you take from this video, it is consistency. So making sure that you can back up the training week in week, and if it needs to be a slightly lighter week to allow for that, then do it. Right, well now it's time to fill in the sessions. Now these kind of fit into 5 main categories and are key components to running a fast 5K. You can actually potentially build 2 of these into one session, but it's probably best just to keep it to one. and less risky. So first off, we have the long run to build the aerobic fitness required to run 10 kilometers. This is a slow pace, much slower than race pace, a minute or more per kilometer slower. The duration depends on your fitness, but shouldn't really extend beyond 90 minutes if your goal is 10 kilometers. Building to 1 hour 15 to 1 hour 30 is about right. And then we have your tempo and threshold runs. These are not quite as quick as your 10K race pace, but not far off. They're actually efforts that we should be able to do for an extended period of time, often referred to as comfortably hard. As I said, not quite as fast as a 10K race pace, but not far off, and actually great for improving your aerobic conditioning and your ability to use and tolerate lactic acid, which is pretty important for running a fast 10K. Now, in terms of durations, you probably want to start off with reps of around 4 to 5 minutes, and a total of 20 to 25 minutes at this effort level within a workout. How you choose to break that up in the workout is entirely up to you and your starting point. But in terms of the maximum that you go to in a workout, you probably don't want to exceed any more than 30 minutes, purely because it's a significant amount of time at a hard effort, and that's going to take far too long to recover from, which will affect that all-important consistency. And then we have speed sessions. Speed sessions are, as the name suggests, about going faster than race pace. This may seem pointless if you won't run the speed on race day, but this type of training, pushing very hard, improves your aerobic capacity, the maximum amount of oxygen you can use, which will improve your race day performance. Speed work also improves your neuromuscular recruitment, how efficiently and effectively your body uses its muscles. In fact, we're going to break this into 2 sessions here. You should do speed work that is really speedy for the neuromuscular gains, and speed work that is a little over race pace for the aerobic capacity gains. As you'd imagine, the really speedy stuff has to be short, 20 to 45 seconds or 150 to 300 meters per effort. We suggest your fast speed work for a 10K under 40 minutes is something like 12 lots of 200 meters or 12 by 45 seconds at near sprint pace. And the less speedy speed work should be longer, 1 minute 30 to 2 minutes or 400 to 600 meters. Just don't try to do them both in one session. Finally, you need strength endurance to run a fast 10K. Now, strength and endurance may seem like opposites, but actually it's exactly what you need to run a fast 10K. You need to be able to produce power for a long period of time, and you need to feel strong later in the 10K. And actually the best way to do this is with hill repeats, because you can produce more power on the hills than you can on the flats. So for a fast 10K, we'd suggest you do 8 lots of 2 minutes hard uphill with jog down recoveries between. Okay, now we need to figure out how we plan that into our week. And you've probably already twigged on this, but that's 5 key sessions to fit into your week. Now, how on earth are you going to fit all your recovery runs around that? You make a valid point, and we're not suggesting you actually try to fit 5 in of these per week. You can actually alternate them. So over a 2-week basis, you'd actually try to tick them all off. So perhaps, let's say, for instance, on a Tuesday, you're going to do a session, on Thursday you do a session, Saturday a session, and Sunday a nice, easy, long run. And you alternate over the weeks. Of course, fit it into your life how you like. You can change the days around, but I would suggest making sure that you don't have 2 hard workouts back to back, because we want to make sure we recover. As I said earlier, consistency is key. I've got an example on screen right now you can have a look at, but as I said, feel free to adapt this to your lifestyle. Finally, the race itself. Now, there's no point doing 12 weeks or so of fantastic training, then ruining it and derailing it all in the last few days or the last week before the event. Now, you want to taper for the event. That means getting yourself primed and ready for the event. To do this, we want to pull back on the overall volume in the week, so significantly cutting the hours down so that they're recovered and feeling good for the event. Also want to pull back a bit on the intensity, not totally, still want to keep a tiny bit in there just to fire ourselves up and make sure we're firing on all cylinders for the event. And then on race morning, we want to make sure we set out and do a good warm-up before the event so that we're ready to hit that target pace from the first kilometre. In terms of food, make sure you have a good meal the night before, and then on the morning of the event, you have a small meal or small breakfast 2 to 3 hours before the event, and obviously also making sure that you're well hydrated. Finally, pace yourself. In a running race, there is no such thing as time in the bank. It may be tempting to run a bit faster in the first half so that you have a cushion in the second half when the going gets tough, especially when you feel so good in the first half from the taper you did. This pretty much never works. I'm talking from experience here. Aim to run an even pace the whole way. So if sub 40 is your goal, start running no faster than 3:55 per kilometre and try to keep it there. 5 seconds per kilometre is enough cushion for terrain changes, but not so much that you blow yourself up before the end. Don't go out hard when you feel good, because you will lose time and more in the second half when your wheels fall off. Well, good luck with your 10K goal. Let us know in the comment section down below how you get on with your attempt, and happy running.